Romeo and Juliet's a classical ballet, and we always try to diversify our repertoire with contemporary works, theatrical works, and especially Shakespeare. And Romeo and Juliet, being one of the greatest ballet scores ever written, is always a really great opportunity for us to showcase the dancers, beautiful dancing and music and theater. And every time the audiences respond very well. They come in large numbers. They know there's a live orchestra, so for them it's one of those great nights of classical ballet that way. But the story itself is still very, very relevant, and as you try to interpret Shakespeare, there's so many angles and so many ways. You have to find your own little door into Shakespeare, and for us at Alberta Ballet, that spark that initiated this concept, this version, was the idea of innocence, the beautiful innocence of Romeo and Juliet that has to be sacrificed, of course, for civilization to learn something.
Romeo and Juliet obviously is the most, one of the most well-known love stories of all time. It's a mixture of classical ballet and kind of neoclassical work that, a lot of Calgary audiences have seen with Jean's work.
This ballet gives us a chance to showcase all the dancers in the company. There's a lot for the women to do on point corps de ballet work. There's not many soloist women role compared to Swan Lake or Sleeping Beauty or other great classical ballets. There's Juliet, and then there's the ensemble. So for the men, it's a chance to shine as well, because there's the Benvolio and Mercutio, Tybalt, the angry character. So there's a lot of the roles for the men, and this idea of attacking the world of Shakespeare and the weight of that and the characters and the destiny they have is something so exceptionally inspiring for all of us, and with the music of Prokofiev. So it's really an interesting moment every time we revisit Romeo and Juliet to realize that still today it means so much to people.
It's great for us because there's always nice when you get to do a narrative, because to transform yourself into somebody else is so nice as a dancer, because the movement has a meaning. And of course for the men, there's tons of sword fighting, which is always so much fun. And you give men any weapon of choice and they become children in the studio. So it's a lot of fun.
Juliet is one of my favorite ballets, and dancing Juliet is like something that I always wanted to do in my career. And yeah, it's such a big thing for any ballerinas, and it's been my dream also. It's really a real dream came true for me, so I'm really excited.
I think we have two beautiful Juliets with Mariko Kondo and Luna Sasaki, and their Romeos, Kelly McKinley and Nicolas Pelletier. For most of them, it's their first Romeo and Juliet, which in the ballerina's career is so important. It's one of the great roles for the men as well. So it's interesting to see how Kelly McKinley, who's also playing Tybalt, is also playing Romeo. So he's playing the two different characters in the same run, which for him was a great challenge. He liked that idea because he's done Romeo before. But for the young ladies dancing Juliet, it's quite an extraordinary moment in their career, and I find them so brave. They're attacking the roles with such integrity and musicality, and they're risking, and I think that that's the pleasure of being a choreographer, not just an artistic director, is to see your choreography come alive with these amazing artists.
So many dancers will watch other, historical dancers who have performed the roles and sometimes try to emulate that. My whole career, I've always tried to be unique in any way I can. If you don't feel it yourself and try to be yourself in the character, then it just won't come across as a natural thing, it comes across as you acting the role. It just happens, it just pulls it out of you. And of course, having someone to dance with as Juliet makes a huge difference as well. I've worked with Mariko for a number of years now, and we work very, very well together, and it just makes everything so easy on stage to just be in that moment.
It's always a work in progress, story ballets, because it's not like clay where you can have it as long as you want and then you're done with it. You have it at little moments, all the company comes together and the character artists. There's over, I think, 100 performers in Romeo and Juliet if you include the orchestra, so there's a lot of artists that have to be directed, and so every chance you get to bring them together is a great chance to make the ballet better. I think challenge of this ballet is to be able to bring people into such a romantic mood and to understand love, even burgeoning love between two young people, a new love, and to remember what that was like for all of us and how important that is in the world, love. And then if you do it right, you contrast it with the violence in Shakespeare and the hatred, lack of compassion and ignorance. And these two qualities are back to back in Romeo and Juliet. So it gives you a complete portrait of what humanity can be at its best and at its worst within the same hour and a half. And that's the challenge in Romeo and Juliet, is to be able to capture those two worlds and make people aware of just how precious. As Yanis Kokos used to say, thankfully, between two wars, there will always be the caress of the lovers. You know, and that's what I think Romeo and Juliet really in the end is all about.